Okay, so here we have today's recording is about working with flowers. I'll be doing a quick demonstration on that, and we're going to be using the pencil, the pen, and possibly the color pencil depending how much time we have available, and we'll be working on that today. So what we have here is we're going to be working with a pencil. I'm going to select the sunflower as an example, okay, and this is only going to be a practice drawing for all of us to work with, and that you can also turn in as an assignment. Alright, I will be highlighting a couple of details. I will be working with the ink pen so that you can kind of see a little bit more of a finished piece versus something that's sketched. Okay, so in the element of the sunflower, I'm gonna do a layout of something in the center, kind of like not too big, sort of medium sized. I'm gonna use a circular shape. All right. Later I'll do the detail on here for the sunflower, and the sunflower, from what I'm looking at, looks like a sunflower. It looks like it has several different petals that are overlapping. Okay, and most of the time the petal is going to be something like this. Okay, so if you can kind of, and let me darken this one up. This is the center. For visual purposes, I'll darken it up because I'm going to try and finish this as a colorful colored pencil example. Okay. So what's going to happen is we have, and then let me watch my time. We're going to be using this element, and actually let me see if I can have a quick sample on the side so that I can show you what elements we're using, and that way you can make reference to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little paper, and I'm going to do this in Sharpie so that you can see exactly what we're doing and what we're using actually. So in this case, we will be using these two shapes, this one, and then of course a circle, which is the center of our flower. So I guess this is considered shape 1 and shape 2. Okay, so just so you know, these are the two elements that we'll be using. I'm going to move that over to the side there, and then just so you can kind of see, and then of course I'll move it out of the way, and then I'll make reference to it later. So on our sunflower, more or less a medium-sized circle, and we'll be doing a repetition of this shape around it. Okay. Normally you could start on this side. It's up to you. Like for example, we start here. We do want to cross it. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. Almost like you're doing a propeller on a helicopter or an airplane. And then we can do another one. They do not have to be the same size. This is going to be a variety of design. Okay. So if you can do this, one here, one across it, and then on the left, you know, almost like a clock, you can say, and then kind of start filling in the middle of each one. Same shape. It's almost like drawing a lemon or a flat football. Okay, you can see this here, and then anywhere in the middle, we're going to be filling those in. And of course, you can normally twist your paper, but for lesson purposes, I'm going to be just kind of trying to leaving it in place. Okay, here's another sample, another space. Now, you may have some gaps in between, and that's okay, because we're going to be doing some behind them. All right, there's going to be some space allowed to do some behind them. Once again, I'm using a blue, non-photo blue pencil. You may use a regular pencil, which I'm sure you have. If you have a mechanical pencil, that's fine too. And the key for this objective right now is to fill up the spacing around this. Okay. Now, if you notice, you're going to have some spaces that are kind of like, well, that's a lot of space in there, and that's okay. In between those, you're going to do like another one, sort of like just the tip of that leaf, that petal, and then you'll see how your drawing changes a little bit. Okay, see, I'm going to add the little point of that petal in between, and now just letting you know that this is a sort of a speedy drawing. I am going to go a little faster than usual. On a normal drawing, as in taking your time, the timing will be a lot different. But because we're in a classroom, it does take more time to work on something, but we're going to be working with color, and then we'll try and work with ink as well. I would recommend that when you do something in color, that you always leave the black as the last item. Let me give you an example of color. I'm just going to put this here as a color sample. Okay, when we have color on a painting or watercolor, you always want to do the color layer first, and then the last thing you'll do is do the black as an outline, as texture, as detail, because it kind of goes against the rule of I guess when your artwork will bleed is when you use the black and then you use color over it. You still need to emphasize the last part, which is going to be black, and that's only if you're using a drawing with ink. Okay, you don't have to do a drawing with ink. When you do watercolor, you can always outline it in black, but you don't have to. You can outline it in color. The ink is not necessary. For purposes of this lesson, we're going to do a drawing with ink at the very end. Okay, so this is an example. We've got this much done. I'm not gonna do a sample over here because I'm tempted to do a little sketch, but I want this to be like a finished piece. So we want to try and not to do anything, like how we used to do the color little squares. We're going to try and leave this as a finished piece. So we want to try and leave it alone so we can add more to it the next day. Okay, so moving this along, we can start adding color to this. I think we're good to go on this flower. We can later add the greenery to it. Let's just kind of do that real quick. It's going to be very minimal. I'm going to add a hint of a leaf here that's extended. That's 1, 2, and I'm going to shade them in just so you know which one is the green. You can do this at random. Do you see that still? Okay. And then I will do a big one here, kind of curved a little bit, like this. Okay, and I'm going to, once again, I'm filling it in blue because I'm going to color it in anyway, just so you know which part is the greenery. Alright, this is the beginning of a larger drawing. Okay, so we're going to do this one. I would probably love to do it in watercolor, but since we don't have watercolor, we're going to do the demonstration in color pencil. Fact is that we may not have color pencil, and that's okay. We can do it in pencil. Okay, so I'm going to do the middle. I'm going to start off with, because it's like the main part of this thing, it's going to have, I'm trying to figure out how to interpret the texture, because it has a very interesting element. Now, I did say about the black being last, but in this case, this is part of the color range that goes in here, and I'm not going to blend anything lighter than that in the center, so I'm going to leave that alone. And really what I meant was when you outline something, the detail can be done at the very end. So, tell you what, let me kind of follow that rule. I'm going to go and then do this in a different manner. I do have some yellows here available that I will be using. I will be utilizing the yellow, the brown, and if possible, if I can get my hand on some orange, the orange. Let me make sure it's orange though. Okay, this is yellow orange. Let me find the orange. And if you don't have those colors, it's okay. You can improvise. You can change the colors if you like. Okay, these are the 3 colors that I'm going to use on my sunflower. And I'm going to try and bring out some colors using the image that I have available. Let me just make reference to what I'm using so that you can have an idea. Okay, so this is the reference that I'm using. Do you see that? Okay, that's the reference that I'm using, and then I can change it around. I'm going to change it around. A couple things will change throughout my drawing, just so you have an idea of what I'm using. I will first lay down some yellow, because most of this leaf is going to be yellow. I just need to sharpen up. Let me sharpen my orange real quick, and then I'll get to that. We're probably not going to finish the whole thing. Excuse me while I sharpen that. We're going to probably do part of it, and then we'll leave this for later. What I'll do is I'll leave this as a period 1 sample, and then I can continue with it the next day so we can kind of get an idea on how to work this out. Okay, so this will be an ongoing lesson. We do have today being Tuesday. We'll probably work on this on a 2 or 3 day drawing, but we're going to do several things so that you can kind of get an idea of what to work with. And then, of course, you'll have Friday as an asynchronous day at this time in the timeline to work with. So, quick sample on the yellow. I'm going to fill in my a couple of my petals. Let's just do 3, just to kind of get a good idea of what this is going to look like. I'm going to lay it down a little soft, a little light. I will lay down some orange coming up from the center, sort of like brushing grass or hair. Just very light, not too dark, very light. Okay, like this. You see that? Let me zoom in a little bit. And then, for purposes of design, I'm going to outline this in brown. Okay, so I've already used 3 colors. And I would be interested to see how Miss Salinas will do this, because she's amazing. She's got her own techniques. We each trained on the basic elements, but every one of us as an artist will have something a little different to contribute. I will then bring up some brown right in the center. You see that? Like that. And so you can imagine how this will look as you go throughout the whole drawing. So I'm going to do a little bit of according to the drawing, it has a little bit of a fuzzy outline here in the middle. I'm going to be establishing that as I go through each of them. Alright. So if you have your color pencils, you may go ahead and begin this, because I'm going to give you some time to work on this towards the end. And you can kind of see the process, right? You see the process? You see the task that you have before you? Okay, this once again is not a one-day drawing. It's a drawing that does take time. Later you will come back and refine this a little bit darker, okay, as dark as you can, and then really bring out some really good color on this design. Okay, this one's going to be very different, because it's going to have a certain texture in the middle, and of course it's going to be based on my drawing. But when I have you work on a drawing of your own, you're going to be basing it on your picture. Okay. So once again, let me make sure I have this available. This is our reference. Okay, this is our reference. And then I'm going to do a variation of it on this picture. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit more on this, and then I'm going to give you a directive on how to work with that, so that you can get that started. So once again, my 3 colors: the brown, the yellow, and the orange are the 3 colors that I'm going to implement on this design. If you want to be creative, or if you do not have those colors, try and get something within that range. Maybe it can be a purple. It can be a light blue and a blue. And then play around with those colors and see what you can do with a floral arrangement. So once again, I'm going to go a little bit to the right. I'm going to fill this in yellow. I'm going to do it lightly, because I can always change the strength if I need more strength in that yellow. I'm going to do these next 4. Okay. Once again, the foundation is you do yellow. I then brush up some orange from the bottom. Okay, I could probably do a center line, like in the middle of each petal, and then brush up some orange. There's my center line there. Brush up some orange very lightly. You don't have to, because sometimes you can go overboard and like, oh, now it's all orange, you know, and you want to kind of control it. So have some control. Later we're going to blend this in. See how it looks kind of a little spotty because it's got some white in there? We will later blend that in, possibly with more orange, depending how we're going to bring out the color, or with more brown. Okay, but it will become something really nice, and we can work with that. The next thing that we did was we outlined. And then maybe brought up some brown as needed. You can control your color. You decide, do you want to do a more obvious brown outline? Do you want to do an orange outline? It's going to be up to you on how you want to do this drawing. Okay, I'm going to finish this section, and then I'll address you all in a little bit. Okay, and then the extra part that you have, is going to be filled in with color. A little bit of orange. Okay, now keep this in mind. Number one, we do want you to learn a lesson. Okay? We don't want you to just think of this class as like, oh, I'm turning in an assignment, you know? We do want you to learn some skills, because when you're older, trust me, you're going to need some art skills somewhere, okay? You're going to end up somewhere being bored, and you're like, oh, I wish I could do something. Oh, my phone. And then, bam, internet's out. Well, bust out a pen. You know, carry a pen with you. Be creative. Have a little sketchbook available. And then go from there. So, yeah, we can definitely work on a lot of things. But somewhere along the way, your creativity will come in handy. And you're going to need to express your imagination, or anger, or fear, or love, or, you know, something of a feeling needs to be expressed. And sometimes when you do art, it's very calming. It's very calming. And especially if you have music. I'm sure a lot of you have music. You have your favorite music. That's one way to do something amazing, is to express yourself through art with music, which is a really cool pastime, right? Okay, so this is the beginning. This is the beginning of something. I'm going to leave it at this point. Later we'll do another lesson that we'll continue the lesson with. For further completion, we will blend brown and black on the center. We will continue with this, and then of course we would have blended light green and green on the leaf areas. Later we would have done some ink designs if we want to, and this is just a little preview of how to make this stand out. We could outline our full floral design and then possibly do some little specks of texture, okay, which really makes it stand out more, because if you notice, once I added that outline, it really brought it up more. Okay, so we'll definitely work on that, and then we'll definitely bring that out more. So let me stop this lesson real quick so that we can bring this